Very excited to introduce now William Butler.
Again, my name is William Butler, and thank you so much, Christopher, for putting this all together, the Kismet team, and just all the volunteers. It's truly a tremendous honor to be here with you all. And again, as Christopher had said, it's been an amazing experience to get to know him. So Christopher had invited me to be here today to pretty much just share our story, which is kind of a unique thing in that, I don't know if you can tell this, but we left Des Moines, Iowa, and moved to Camden, New Jersey. And a lot of times when I'm speaking, the audience kind of looks at me when I say I'm from Camden. They kind of tilt their heads a little bit, or and I don't know if it's my accent that I'm throwing it off, or if it's, do I have a Jersey accent yet? I don't feel like I do, but anyway, it has been quite a transition and a beautiful thing. A little bit about me and about my amazing wife and our sons is we were born and raised in Iowa, and I'm an artist, multidisciplinary artist and graphic designer. And about 11 years ago, my wife and I just really felt this call that we were supposed to come to the East Coast. We have no family out here, no friends, no connections, really no real business opportunities for us. And we came and we visited Camden, New Jersey. And 11 years ago, it was a very different place. It still has a lot of challenges. But when we arrived there, we were really struck by the level and degree of poverty, the level of degree of hopelessness and despair that we found on the streets. We toured the streets, went through a number of the very hard-hit areas. And to be perfectly honest with you, our hearts broke. We have traveled abroad and have done work in other impoverished areas and cities and communities, both local in the United States as well as abroad. And Camden just struck our hearts in a way that we really felt compelled that we needed to help in some way. Not knowing exactly what that was, but just believing that there would be a way for us to somehow come to a city that didn't know us and we didn't know it, and we really had no real connections to it. Fast forward a few years to selling our home and giving everything else away. We put my studio and our belongings and our two young sons into a 14-foot U-Haul and drove to Camden, New Jersey and set up, just like you do, right? Just like you do. Just for a quick, is there anyone here from Des Moines, Iowa? Show of hands. Not including my wife, because she is, I know that. Anyone here from Camden, New Jersey? Yeah, you know what's funny is I rarely get those two in the same room at the same time, no matter where I'm at. I can be in LA, I can be in New York, I can be here in Philly. It doesn't matter. You don't get those two demographics in the same room, which is, I don't think, just a geographic issue. But we came to the city and we really saw that those challenges, and we really took it as a place of prayer to see how we could come and come alongside a community. And upon our first visit, this screen here that I put up tells a little bit of that story. And our first trip, we were in South Camden, and this will be a quick short story. And a friend of ours, brother, has done a little bit of work with Urban Promise in the city of Camden. So we reached out to Tom. Tom gave us part of that city tour, and he took us around, and we were down in South Camden. That's where I snapped these shots a little over 11 years ago. And these next two screens just really kind of captured my heart and kind of set the tone. And it's, rest your dream in my dream. And that still has a resonance in my spirit today, even as I see that, and I know the work that we've been able to do and the people we've been able to connect with over the years. Rest your dream in my dream. And art saves lives. I'd never seen this, and I'd never seen it in a community that was so broken, so fractured, so falling apart. As we went through this city, it really felt like a kind of a post-World War II bombed-out city. One building was sort of standing, the next building, row home, was burned out, the next slot was completely empty, the next was just dust, so on and so forth. Just this sequence of somebody trying to live and survive, somebody doing bad things in a place that hasn't been boarded up yet, one side burned down, empty lot, and it was just block after block after block. And it really shook us a little bit. And then to experience some of the folks in the streets and just some of the chaos and some of the hopelessness. But my friend Tom, real quick, just because this is funny, and so we're driving through Camden, New Jersey. Has anyone driven through Camden, New Jersey? Some of the areas? Okay, so you know what I'm talking about. You guys have been in North Philly. You've been, this isn't just local to Camden. So we're driving through Philly in a late 90s model Jeep Grand Cherokee with the wood panels on the side, and it's lily white. And it's me in the front seat, and Tom, and Rania in the back seat, and then Tom's newborn son in a car seat next to Rania. And we're driving through South Camden, and Tom just stops in the middle of the street. Tom is a character. His head's shaved. He's a white guy wearing a pink shirt, driving a white Jeep with wood panels on the side in South Camden. I'm sitting in the front seat with him. He puts my window down. And there's these 5 guys standing on the corner, most of them bigger than me, much darker complected than me, in muscle shirts, and one guy had a chain around his neck with a meat cleaver hanging from the chain. This is our first trip from Des Moines, Iowa to Camden, New Jersey. Tom puts my window down, this is so true, and he leans past me and he yells out my window at these guys, and he says, "Yo, Pookie." And I about froze. I looked back kind of over my shoulder towards my wife, and I'm looking at Tom, and by the time I look back at Tom, and these guys just kind of look forward, and they're kind of giving him this look, he jumps out of his vehicle, and we're stopped in the middle of the street, and these guys are here, and he stands on the other side of his hood, and he's got his arm on his hood, and he starts shouting out names I can't understand. They were like nicknames or something, but my heart's going about 1,000 miles an hour, and Meat Cleaver guy starts walking towards the car, and I'm thinking, okay, welcome to Camden, here we go. And then they start going back and forth, and Tom comes over, and he's giving them hugs, and turns out Tom was working with them in basketball camps a few years prior, and so on and so forth. So we all got out, we all just embraced as though we'd known each other for 10, 15 years. And I'm not afraid of meat cleavers anymore, so that's good. Or South Camden. But it was a quick initiation into the city for us, and it was a couple years later that we moved to the city and began our work there. It's just been not without its challenges, but it's also been with great surprises and great blessings. And it was quite a journey. It was quite a journey. And so I think that's why Christopher had asked me to come and to share some of our story and some of the highlights. This is a quick shot of my lovely wife, Rania. She is the best. And then my 2 sons, which are second bests. On the left, first summer we arrived, and this is just last summer, them graduating from high school, which is hard to believe. Hard to believe, yeah. And so when we came to Camden, we didn't have a place to open a business, didn't have any business leads, didn't have anything other than my design, many of my paintings, and a hope that we could do something to help and to bring light and to bring change to the city. And so we set about by connecting with local folks, local people doing the arts, local people that were serving the communities, and really saw that there would be a need for arts to really come alive in a way that maybe it hadn't been realized yet in the city of Camden. There's always so much going on in Philadelphia, and but Camden is its own kind of, I don't know, it's its own sphere. It really is. And I know that those of you who have been there that have been through, there's just something very different about Camden. And so we opened an art studio and gallery in the city in the old Firehouse number 6, right next to the Ben Franklin Bridge. And we're able to begin to reach out to the community, invite the community into a gallery. Many people in the city of Camden have never been to an art gallery, didn't know what that was all about. They hadn't engaged in that way or in that level. We started an art crawl in the city called Third Thursdays for about, loosely based on First Fridays. Camden, again, has its own dynamic, so it wasn't going to work exactly the way it does in Philadelphia. And so we began to reach out to local artists and local venues and restaurants and other institutions in the city that would be willing to just pitch in and do something beautiful, to do something interesting, to set aside one night a month to come together as a community. And we began to build that community and build the neighborhood and invite folks in and share the arts and have a glass of wine and break some bread and share stories and have musicians and poets and entertainers come into the gallery space to perform. And it was truly an amazing time that we had in the city. And what we did with that is we built that art crawl around this key piece, which was our art gallery in the firehouse. We ran that, managed it, funded it for 5 years, and then we turned it over to the community, and the community is now in charge of that. My studio is still in the space in the firehouse. We were able to begin to brand parts of the city, especially the Cooper Grant neighborhood, as an arts and historic district, which it was. RCA is right there, recording, music, Stedman Gallery, the Student Works Gallery. A lot of things started to pop up and take shape around this. So this is just a quick run through. I'm sorry if I'm in anybody's way. Just some of the space and some of the interactivity in the gallery space. That's me in the studio creating a series entitled Ascension. Here's more of the gallery space with works up. And it's just so great to engage the youth. We would have youth groups that would come in and we would give art talks, and it was wonderful to be able to do that and have that exposure. These black and white paintings are from my Camden Beautiful series. And that's our wonderful chief of police. And so we began to work and reach out and be able to get some traction in that way, really to just create a sense of hope and light in the city. And it's hard to put your arms around the amount of diversity and separation that happens in the city. And it's not race, it's not just economics, it's not just neighborhoods, it's not just politics, there's a lot of deep-seated things that are broken. And so we really tried to use the gallery and that art space as a way to invite people into a room where they wouldn't otherwise see each other in a room. And month after month, we did this art crawl, and we hosted it month after month for 5 years without fail. And the stories that would come from these evenings would just astound us. You would have folks that would come in and they would be enthralled with the art and they'd enjoy their time. But then you would get someone that is on one side of this and on the other side of that, or someone was hurt by this person or that person and they would come together around a glass of wine and hospitality and just a loving environment. And some of those things would just melt away. And we saw just a lot of bridges happening through the arts. And so I think that was part of our calling, was to come to Camden and allow the arts to be used in a way that would uplift the community and also benefit the community in a way that maybe hadn't been realized before. And being from Iowa, you kind of have a little bit of a foreigner complex because, we're there. And so many times the question would arise, why? Why are you in Camden? Why did you pick Camden? Why would you move from Des Moines, Iowa, Field of Dreams? Everybody seen the show, Field of Dreams? Okay, so Des Moines, Iowa, Field of Dreams. It's really not that rural, but there's parts that are. To Camden, New Jersey, the field of right? And so that question keeps coming up in my mind and in my heart, and I'm like, what's the why? And I think the why is the same calling that we all have on our hearts and our mind. And when we feel that calling, we have to do something about it. We have to pick up sticks and move, You have to pursue that thing that sometimes feels like it's completely out of your reach, completely crazy, completely beyond possible. But I feel like in this day, those opportunities to pursue the impossible hold the greatest rewards. If we count the great sacrifice of leaving family, friends, everything you know, all the securities that you might have with jobs or business, what have not, to leave all of that behind to pursue something that you don't know, that there's no security, there's very little opportunity, especially in 2010, 2011. How was the economy doing? Sell a house in 2008, 2009, 2010, it was very difficult for us to do because all you're doing is losing. It was a lose, lose, lose proposition. But nevertheless, you know that once something's placed in your heart, you have to pursue it. And so that was part of our call. Another quick story before I jump further is before we left Iowa for Camden, New Jersey, I had an art exhibit and a live painting in, you guessed it, Detroit, Michigan. Any Detroit folks in the house? Golly, this is just not cooking for me tonight. Detroit has its issues and problems as well, as do many cities. But this is a brilliant story because I love it. So my lovely wife and I and our two young sons, who were, I believe, 9 years old at the time, we're doing the exhibit and then the live painting, and then we had this opportunity to serve at a homeless shelter in a very challenged area of Detroit. And we got down to the homeless shelter, and we were serving and helping with some of the food prep and so on and so forth. And they have this circle meeting with all the homeless people. So there was probably 40 or 50 people that we all just kind of sat in a circle. And Ronnie and I and our two sons were the only Caucasians in the circle, and which is fine. That's just how it is. And so we were there, and they were going around with prayer requests. Everybody came around with prayer requests and a kind of introduction, and hi, I'm Steve, and hey, I'm Charlotte, and here's what's going on. And so we'd get around, and then it came around to Rania and I and our two sons, and they looked to us and we said, yeah, I'd take some prayers. We're moving to Camden next month. No lie. The circle shrieked. They were like, oh, Camden? You crazy. Why are you going to Camden? You crazy, man. You're going to get killed in Camden. They don't play in Camden. And I'm like, this is Detroit, people. Are you kidding me? Because, you hear it from family and friends and other folks like, oh, man, I don't know if that's the right choice. Are you sure you're good? And we're like, yeah, I think we know what we're doing. So, which we really didn't, but we believe that we did, which is half of the battle right there. So that's our Detroit. You crazy. I feel like that sometimes. So since we've been in the city, we've been able to partner with a number of organizations that are just phenomenal. And one of the things that I have been blessed to be able to do is to create live art. And I've talked to Christopher about this, and I know in the future we'd love to introduce some of that live painting into venues like this and into the grateful kind of environment, so that we can not only do those creative things, but we can also use the artwork to raise significant funds for great organizations. And so we've really been blessed to do that. And this is a painting I did for HopeWorks, which is a great company or nonprofit in Camden that takes the youth and teaches them how to code and to build WordPress websites. And they take them for, I think, 2 or 3 years, and they train them in technology, they equip them, they get them into internships, and they set them on a path of being great digital designers. And so I created this piece for them, and upon their graduation, this is kind of their banner of graduating, as they all stand one at a time in front of this painting, which hangs in their offices, and they get their picture taken in front of this painting. And it's a blessing to be able to do the painting. It's a blessing to see that painting raise wonderful funds for that organization. But it's also amazing to know that that painting is touching generations of youth who are coming up out of a place of hopelessness in a lot of cases, and they're finding a new way and a new path. This was a painting I got to work with these youth on a day of healing. All of these youth that I was working with, the only thing they had in common were they were Camden residents, and they suffered loss of a family member to murder. So all these kids I'm working with, every one of them, the only thing they had in common is Camden resident, and either their mom, dad, brother, sister, cousin, grandma, grandpa were killed in the city of Camden in 2012. was a terrible year for murder in the city of Camden. And I put this piece together for them to create, and they co-created it together. Miraculously, I had a soundtrack just kind of playing gently behind in this room, and there was about a 12-year-old boy, a 15-year-old girl, a 14-year-old girl, maybe a 13-year-old girl, all working on the canvas at the same time. And it was a soundtrack that I put together, a set list of songs that I knew they wouldn't know, other than one that I thought they might know, but it was the greatest redemption song ever written, Amazing Grace. And it was a female singer singing a cappella Amazing Grace while they're painting. And it's just on my laptop, so it's not loud, it's not... Miracles break out. The young boy starts singing. Perfect. And he's just painting away. Perfect. The young girl next to him chimes in. Perfect harmony. The young girl next to her chimes in. Perfect harmony. I'm standing off the canvas and I'm reaching for my phone thinking, I got to capture this. What is this? And then the little girl next to her chime in. And they not only sing the first verse, second verse, third verse. Song's over. They just hand me their paint, walk away. The parents and the other kids in the room were like, what was that? How does art bring healing in a place where you've suffered so much? How does art bring hope? How does art bring forgiveness? How does art repair these young kids' lives in a way that I can't prescribe, they can't prescribe, other than we took the time and the energy and the opportunity to put ourselves in a place where that light could shine. I don't know the kids' names. I know they didn't know each other. I know they'd probably never met that day, until that day. But I believe something really big happened for them. This was a big one. So I was commissioned by the mayor of the city of Camden when President Obama came to the city to visit. Probably one of the biggest historic events in Camden, New Jersey, is to have the president come and visit you, and for it to be President Barack Obama in the city of Camden. Now, Ronnie and I feel like we fit in there really well. But the city really is only about 3% white residents. So to have the first African-American president visit your city is tremendous. And have the mayor, in a prayerful way, contact us to say, I believe you have a gift for the president. I don't know why, but I just feel like you have something for him. This painting didn't exist. So we had to get our background checks. We had to get the Secret Service, White House backgrounds, all that kind of stuff done. I frantically painted for about 36 hours straight, created this piece entitled Invincible Promise. We delivered it to where the president was speaking over at the Kroc Center, which I have some slides for real quick. And I know I need to move on a little quicker, but that's the Irish side of me going. And the president, received it, and he was so moved by it that he knelt by it and then wrote, "We are proud of Camden," and signed this original painting. In the midst of his visit to the city and meeting with the youth and meeting with the leadership of the city of Camden, it was tremendous. It was truly tremendous. The MLK painting that was part of the black and white series, Camden Beautiful, that piece we were able to give to the president, and that piece got to fly home on Air Force One to DC, which is really cool. No patent like this, just saying that's just cool. On top of that, Ronnie and I were able to gift, working with the school board as well as the mayor's office, to create fine art prints of this Invincible Promise piece, which reads, "Invincible Promise, Everlasting Hope." And we were able to gift that to every school in the city of Camden. Elementary, middle school, high school, charter schools. This is in the entryway, or near the principal's office in the entryway area at each of the schools, just as a reminder that there is hope, that they are invincible, and that there is a promise for them. They lay hold of it. This is the Kroc Center, another big commission piece in the city, and painted with the tall ships, Philadelphia and Camden. It was on one of the ships there, as well as Cooper Medical School. And then the live painting, I travel around the country. It's an amazing experience. It's exhilarating, it's exciting, it's exhausting, and I hope the audiences like it too. I'm enjoying it. So this is a big event, arena size as well as intimate settings. And with that ability to be able to go and do that, not only do we carry that message of the arts and what the arts are capable of doing, but we also have the opportunity to usually speak and be able to carry that story and ambassador the city of Camden so that people get to know. They get to know that there's hope. They get to know that there's places like Camden. They get to step out of their comfort zone a little bit and get connected in that way so that they can help to create great change. And so I think that's part of us. We're right here, right in Camden, just right across the river. And so my hope is that each of you who are here in your circles of influence consider not only the greater Philadelphia area, but also just across the river. There's great need there, and there's great possibilities there. And we would love to invite you to come and see us and visit us. We'd be happy to give you a tour of the city. I can't tell you that we can get to meet Cleaver Guy, but if we do see him, I'll approach it much more delicately than Tom did, just in case it's not the same guy. We could end up with different results. But thank you all so very much, and please connect with us. Have a great night.